Okay, so we hear that when there's marriage trouble, typically it's going to be the husband's fault because that's where the buck stops, right? And that kind of makes sense. Okay. However, the husband is usually complaining, well, the wife is not obeying me, or she's out of control, or she's giving me a hard time. I have no recourse. What do I do here? And so I'm drinking coffee this morning before church, listening to this chick that comes on the cell phone, Facebook or what, YouTube, explaining why it is the husband's fault. So she got my attention, and I wanted to react to this because we're going to bring a little St. Robert Bellarmine into it also, and some canon law to give you the Catholic tools to back up what she's saying, because her recourse is effectively, if a spouse isn't playing ball, you just leave, you do the takeaway. But Catholics cannot just do that because we have to love till it hurts. We have to stay together. We cannot separate, right? Till death do us part, all that kind of thing. There is no divorce option. But wait just a minute. There's all the forgotten tools that used to exist before marriage, in effect, was redefined. So let's listen to what she says, and we'll start to unpack a little bit of it and dabble in some canon law here to give everybody more info on what to do in order to maintain your frame and keep things on the tracks. And some of it's counterintuitive. So, okay.
She treats you like trash, but it's all your fault. What do I mean by that? A woman only gets vicious when she knows that you will take it. The second she realizes that you'll come back, no matter what, that you'll apologize for her screaming, that
your woman only gets vicious when she knows that you will take it. I don't think a man necessarily gets vicious, okay? But I think this is typical only because of after the fall, all right? We have a woman's, her desire will be for her husband. So she's going to want to take over. And I think that's what she's talking about. This can happen. This dynamic happens, male and female, disproportionately, which is why it's typically the woman who files for divorce. Sorry to cut her off. Let's keep going.
You will chase her silence, and you will literally eat every single insult with a smile. The respect is gone instantly. She doesn't watch her tone anymore. She doesn't care if you're hurting. She doesn't care if she's the reason you're hurting. She stops pretending because you taught her that she doesn't have to. You did that.
Okay, yeah. So if you if you don't punish, but you reward bad behavior by coming back for more, just like the schoolyard bully, he'll keep coming back for your lunch money every day because why not? It's what they're going to do. It's kind of their nature. She's gonna tell more about this.
Every time you stayed after her disrespect, every time you said it's okay when it wasn't, every time you let her cross that line and greeted her on the other side with open arms, you handed her the script that says, hey, he's weak. I can do and say whatever I want, and he...
Okay. Why is this common? Why is this happening? It's called, as long as we both shall love, it's called unity required. That comes from the NFP law, all right? This is why marriage is set up for failure, and particularly husbands, because they have no recourse against the feminist onslaught because legally they have to be pursuing this unity, right? So what she is describing is exactly where Catholics are today. They have to keep going straight into the wood chipper in the name of love to lay down their lives, right? Okay. So they're trying hard to do, quote, what's right. And what's going on is they're playing right into the devil's hands because it's fallen nature to give, to be a doormat to her, and then she's going to eat your lunch. This is why we have to get back to the correct definition of marriage, which is procreation alone is primary, and there's no such thing as unity in the essence of marriage. It's important to work together, but it is not the essence of marriage, which is now effectively the way everyone does it because we have to make NFP legal, which you've heard me say a zillion times, but this is the basis for the problem. But this chick, of course, isn't Catholic. She's secular, but she is saying what all everyone knows, but the Catholics are afraid to admit because we're so hung up on gushing emotional theology of the body, not Timothy Gordon, Christopher West kind of stuff, okay? Gushy Christopher West. I've said this before. I wouldn't be surprised, just like Captain and Tennille, I wouldn't be surprised if Christopher West and his wife sometimes get a divorce, and it might happen. I hope not, of course, but if it happens, it wouldn't surprise me because they're banking everything on this love stuff, and it'll blow out. It can blow out eventually, is what can happen. Continuing.
Will still choose me. That is not love. That is you volunteering to be her damn doormat. And the worst part, she doesn't even feel bad. She feels powerful because you showed her that there are 0 consequences.
Oh, yeah, that's right. She feels powerful. Like I said, your desire will be for your husband. Genesis. She's going to want to wear the pants. That's exactly what that means. And you've shown her that when she wants that, what do? You go, well, I'm going to, it's called Operation Simp, okay? I'm trying to be as charitable as possible. And also, I don't want a divorce. I don't want this bad thing. We got a bunch of kids here, whatever. We can't, whatever we got to do, I'm going to do that. So I'll get into more of the law here in a minute. I'm going to give you these tools. We'll keep listening and I'll stop in a minute.
When a woman knows that you will put up with literally anything, she does not get better. She gets worse, and much worse, quickly.
Okay, I think that's true. I don't know about the quickly part, but whatever. If you start letting people take lots of meth on the street and tell them it's fine, or you keep giving out free needles, there's going to be a lot of people you're accelerating the problem. Okay, so what we have here is a legal problem, a political problem. Let's go ahead and check out some of the law that I'm talking about, and then we'll go back to the rest of her video. Okay, so let's start with a few notes. We'll kick it off with St. Robert Bellarmine, The Art of Dying Well. Excellent book. You can listen to it free on YouTube. It's totally cool. So I'm listening to it late one night, moving tires out in the rain, and I heard this and I quoted it and I made it a meme because it's so good. He's saying exactly what she's saying. So many females in these days who endeavor to rule over their husbands. Yep, some things never change. And like I said, it's because of the fall. But perhaps the fault is in the men who do not know how to retain their superiority. That's politically incorrect. That doesn't sound like something Christopher West would say. It does sound like something that Timothy Gordon would say, but Timothy Gordon, he's totally undercutting his whole position because he says marriage must be unitive. Let's keep going, all right? I've made myself a few notes. Mutual submission and unity equals doormat husband. And like I said, these things can all be turned the other way. There's husbands who are like complete jerks and the wives are trying to do everything to keep it together. It's a little different dynamic, but the tools I'm going to mention canonically coming up can be used for both, all right? But primarily, this is a man problem, which is why we're addressing it from this angle. So, unity is the new law. Right. And that comes because we need a reason for our conjugal act when we're not trying to procreate, because NFP says so. So that new reason is unity, which is an empty vessel to put in anything you want. Flesh, lust, love, remedy of concupiscence. I don't care what you call it, but it's not procreation, okay? So we're going to, or getting together really well and all that stuff, getting along. Okay, lay down your life. Like I said, that's those, you've heard that before. I'm sure you guys have heard that a lot of times. You have to lay down your life with them, and they'll say it to you with emotion. So yes, when she is using you for a doormat and she's doing, she's stomping her heels right in your forehead, and you're like, I'm laying down my life. What is this? Great. You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to, you can protect her from, if someone's coming at the family with a gun, you can lay down your life that way, but you don't give in to the feminine monster, the female monster who's going to take over. It's kind of like a kill or be killed sort of thing. All right. So you have to, that's why they maintain your frame is like kill or be killed. Be in charge or don't be in charge. That's it. There is no mutual. It's like, okay, if you have the police and the criminals and everyone has to have mutual submission, the police lose every time. They have got to maintain authority or they're done. Patriarchy and unity cannot coexist. This is what I was talking about this morning at Coffee and Donuts with my nephew, Rick. Patriarchy and unity cannot coexist. That's probably news for Timothy Gordon. All right. They can't, because when patriarchy means rules, means authority, means decision power, okay, means asserting authority on occasion. So when the cops tase some giant tatted up guy at midnight out front of 7-Eleven with no shirt on yelling at everybody, he's not feeling the unity from the police, but the police have to assert their patriarchy, so to speak, of the streets, because otherwise we got uncivilization. All right. So therefore there ain't no unity there. There may be unity later if the guy repents and everyone's talking in jail about stuff, but not at the time. The cops have got to exercise some tough love there, all right? So similarly, marital debt and unity cannot coexist. This is the message I've been beating into Tim Gordon's head really hard, all right? He keeps asserting marital debt. We have the right to the marital debt. Well, not if someone has the right to unity. And Timothy, you said it many times that conjugal act must be unitive. So therefore, people have the right to unity, everyone getting along, as you said. So you can't assert your authority then, because if she can assert her authority or her right to unity. And I'll get to where this is a problem in the law in a second. Let's keep scrolling down, then we'll get back to the video. All right, so I wrote here, you might not be interested in war, but war is interested in you. Everyone's heard that a lot of times. That's correct. So just because you want to be a peacenik, and hang out, no, because eventually the animals are coming over the wall and they're gonna eat you. So be prepared for that. All right. So you might not be interested in divorce, but divorce is interested in you. The devil is after your family and he totally wants it. And if you don't deal with the wife correctly, she may likely choose it too, because she wants that power. Her desire will be to eat your lunch, to wear those pants. And what better way to do that than with divorce? It's called, I don't need to overpower my husband. I can just use the state to do it. And that's exactly what she will do if she gets ahead of steam and gets rolling with this. That's why you got to nip it in the bud. All right. But we're told not to nip it in the bud. We're told to keep laying down our lives and not talk about obedience or any of that stuff, which is why Timothy Gordon is so good on all this. But again, he's completely undercutting his entire position. It's like sawing off, like you see, the guy in the tree branch sawing off the tree branch, but he's sitting on it. That's all that Timothy Gordon is doing. Okay, so once upon a time, there's a lot of real martyrs, and it can happen like in Uganda right now, I think, but also historically, if you were going to proclaim your Catholicism in public, you're probably going to be a martyr. Not so anymore in Springfield, Ohio, unless you're a cat. But then if you are, you need to be open to martyrdom if you're Catholic, right? Of course. You also need to be open to divorce if you're Catholic, because now, instead of the Protestant reformers coming to draw and quarter you for being Catholic like they did in England in 1603 or whenever, now what's going to happen is the state will come and draw and quarter your family right in front of your face and make you pay for it. All right. That is a likely scenario. It's very likely. In fact, it's 80% likely. So when you get married, you're likely to become a marriage martyr. So you need to preempt it and get ready for that, rather than running from it all the time, trying to throw more love at the problem, more unity at the problem. What we just need is more. No, it won't work, because she's not geared for that. She's geared for patriarchy. And when you don't give it to her, she'll grab your gun and point it at your head and say, do as I say, no one gets hurt. And then, of course, everyone's going to get hurt anyway, because she can't maintain it. She's got to overthrow. She's not going to go in neutral on that. A lot of guys know what I'm talking about. Oh, by the way, I'm going to put the original link to this video. You should see some of the comments. It's amazing. Maybe I'll look at a few in a minute. Anyway, let's keep going. Okay, if the criminals know that the cops will not use guns, the criminals take over, as I said. The wife knows husband will do anything to avoid. Yeah, I already said this. Whoops. I just messed that up. Okay, all the Catholic guns have been taken away from husbands today in the name of unity. That's right. Oh, here's a point. So Antifa, when the cops show up, or somebody who's going to do something about Antifa, the police really do, Antifa will say it's the police that are the problem. They're not bringing you. If the police would just go away, everything would be fine. Okay, and this is what a wife who wants to wear the pants will say. If the law will go away, everything will just be fine. All this patriarchy, all these rights of the husband, and all that stuff. Yeah. This is what we're going to get to. This is going to be the heart of the video here, and we're going to get into some of the law that you actually have, some of the tools. Now, the disenfranchised or the spouse who's not doing so well or having the trouble, you have to know where the gun is. Where is the Catholic gun? Where do you go? All right, because later in this video, the girl says, "Look, you should just leave if you're the husband and she's not playing ball, she's not respecting you. Leave." And then she will snap into place. But Catholics don't do that, nor can they do that. They can't just leave on their own authority, okay? And the Catholics know that marriage is till death, and you got 3 or 9 kids or whatever you got going on. You can't just abandon all that. So that leaving thing it doesn't really work. In theory, that's correct, but not in practice. Just like if you want to make your wife jealous, go ahead and have an affair. In theory, that would work, but you can't do that. You see what I'm saying? Continuing, let's look at Canon Law 221 for starters. Christ's faithful may lawfully vindicate and defend the rights they enjoy in the church before the competent ecclesiastical forum in accordance with the law. Very simply, you can take your marriage case to the bishop. That's all that means. Okay? To vindicate and defend rights. Is the bishop going to put your wayward spouse in jail? No, but he can deny communion. That's what he can do, and that's what will happen or should happen. Even if it doesn't, you have to try this, okay? By the way, that's what they always used to do. If you don't follow what the bishop says, you're denied the sacraments. You're treated like a Gentile or a tax collector, all right? Canon 1151. What are these rights we're talking about? Lawfully vindicate and defend rights. You have the obligation and the right to maintain common conjugal life. And that means without adultery. And adultery is defined loosely as anything that is against marriage. So if she's not obedient, because the husband has a right to that, okay? If people are cheating or people are they're just out of control. It's not working out. There's a big problem. Fill in the blank, okay? But those are reasons why you can put away your spouse per Matthew 19:9. That's what that means. It's not about invalidity. It is about adultery. Matthew 19:9. Anyone wants to talk more about that? You fire off some comments. Joe Heschmeyer is all wet on this stuff. Most people are, because NFP law changes that whole scenario. Matthew 19:9. Anyway, if you think you got something to say, go ahead and say it in comments, please. 1152. Within 6 months, 1152 part 3, within 6 months of having spontaneously terminated the common conjugal life, the innocent spouse is to bring case of separation to the competent ecclesiastical authority. Why am I saying this? Because you have, like this girl in the video, we're going to go back to it in a minute. She's going to say, you can just leave. So what you have to do is, if you're going to leave, you have to, within 6 months, bring your case to the ecclesiastical forum, to the court. Now, if she's threatening to leave, then go ahead and here's the point I wanted to make while I'm thinking of it. You can't let any spouse have a stick they can hold over your head. Otherwise, you lose. The police know they have the guns, they have the power. Otherwise, civilization loses. So if somebody is threatening divorce, you cannot worry about, let them threaten it all they want. Let them go ahead with it. In other words, you can't be afraid of any of this. You have to accept, just like martyrdom. You better renounce your faith and burn a pinch of incense to Jupiter, or we're going to martyr you. What are you going to do about that? Is that what you want? I didn't think so. Yeah, get back to pagan school now. Okay. Oh, well, I'm supposed to lay down my life for my pagan ruler. Nah, yeah, you're supposed to be a martyr if need be, all right? So you have to be a marriage martyr, and if they're going to take you to divorce, be okay with that. You've done everything you can. In other words, you want to aggressively prosecute the crime rather than just hope it doesn't happen. But you don't do it through the civil. You do it through the ecclesiastical. So we need to inform everybody that you have to take your case to the court, the ecclesiastical court first. That's what this is about. All right? Having examined all the circumstances, this authority is to consider, aka the bishop, whether the innocent spouse. That means there's an innocent and a guilty spouse in every separation. There's no both people are at fault, or one person's 80% and one person's 20%. There's 100% fault and 0% fault, because the innocent spouse can be brought to condone the fault and not prolong the separation permanently. So the person who is, quote, separating is the guilty spouse, 100%, no matter how good the reason is, until they get a decree of separation, which we're going to get to right here in 1153. All right. But if you separate without a decree, like this girl is saying, because she's secular, she's going to say, just walk out. That you're an abandoner. This is why you cannot do this. One thing I don't like is when you hear these Catholic commentators saying, well, in our marriage, we just consider divorce as not an option. No, you don't get to consider that, because divorce is a sin in every circumstance in this country. It's not even an option. It's like abortion is not an option. No, abortion is a crime everywhere. All right, it's murder. Divorce is grave sin in all circumstances in the USA today. I can explain why. I've done it on other videos, but you can always do legal separation if you need. But the point is that let me see, what point was I making? Oh yeah. The innocent spouse. So hang on, let me think about it. Yes. So if you go ahead and call her bluff, for example, and she says, I'm leaving you or I'm divorcing you, say, go ahead. It's grave sin, though. And then you can, if she won't abide by any of this stuff, you can do your own Canon 221 and go vindicate your rights and defend yours. So therefore, they are going to declare which spouse is innocent, which one is guilty publicly, so that everyone will know and the kids will know. And what used to happen before the Beatles, they deny sacraments, and that's what should happen. So we have to try to get the practice back to the discipline, not even discipline, just divine law, back to what it needs to be. It's all being ignored now because NFP has destroyed the legal basis of marriage, which is why you can do the conjugal act according to Timothy Gordon for any reason you want. No, you can't. Like, you can separate for any reason you want because it's my private thing. Who's going to judge me? Oh, yeah, it's public, and that's because it's objective, and the judge is ecclesiastical. Continuing, Canon 1153. This canon right here is the no-fault divorce loophole everyone quotes, and they all get it wrong. Canon 1153, a spouse who occasions grave danger of... Okay, so here, this is adultery. This falls under adultery. You got grave danger of soul or body, makes life unduly difficult. You know, emotional affair, total disregard for the family well-being, drugs, fill in the blank. There's 101 things that are going on. You got major porn addiction. You got something crazy going on, okay? You shouldn't live like that. No, you don't have to, quote, stay, but you can't leave on your own authority. That's the point. This provides the other spouse with the reason to leave, either by decree, and they didn't say, notice they didn't say innocent spouse. You're not innocent, you're guilty until proven innocent when you leave, by the way. Okay. Either by decree of the local ordinary. That is because only the local ordinary can judge and decree a separation. All right. Or if there's danger and delay, you can leave on your own, his or her own authority. That's the loophole that everyone takes, because they're like, well, look, it says if there's danger and delay, I can leave it on my own authority. So I think I'm in danger, so I'm leaving on my own authority, and then I'm never looking back. That's what it says, right? Right? Hello? Wrong. Due process is always required. So if you need to go to court, but in other words, if you need, if you need to jump out of the window of your burning house and you don't have, you don't, it's freezing outside, but you don't have a coat on. You jump out and you get your coat later because there's danger in delay. If you delay to wait to get your coat on, you're going to burn. So you jump out the window into the snow and get your coat later because there was danger in delay. Got that? Doesn't mean you never wear a coat again in the snow for the rest of your life because you don't need to. No, you have to have what is due. If you live in Alaska, you got to wear a coat, even if you go outside temporarily because there was danger in trying to get your coat on, right? Same idea here. Okay, let me give you another reason why this is the only way to read this. The effects of marriage do not become merely civil over time. So what are the mere civil effects of marriage? It's your tax filing status. This is news to everybody because they're saying that the civil effects are like child support, alimony, who gets to see the kids on Tuesday, parenting plan. Those are all civil effects because the judge handles that, right? And the pope, the bishop handles the annulment. Wrong, 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 totally wrong. Heresy, red, wrong, no. The effects of marriage are all spiritual. The common life, living together, the contract, the money, the kids, the education of the kids, your reputation, all that stuff are the spiritual effects of marriage. They are not merely civil. The civil effects of marriage are like your last name. Oh, I don't know. Like I said, your tax filing status, that sort of thing. This is why you have to have the bishop's permission to separate. You don't have to have the bishop's permission to get a building permit for your new little McMansion. You don't, because it's a mere civil effect. But you do have to get the bishop's permission to break the contract because that's not a mere civil effect. Continuing with that idea, Canon 1692, a separation can be decided by the decree of the diocesan bishop. That's right. He's the guy who can do it. Not your Aunt Sarah, not yourself, because you have no right over the contract. Your spouse. You don't have, he's got rights over you, and you have rights over him. You don't get to deny your spouse their rights. The problem today is there are no rights because we've made marriage unity, and unity can't be defined, so there's no rights. There's the problem. That's what I'm trying to get everyone back to before we left the building, all right? That would be 1950. Because in practice, we have taken marriage and made it subjective in practice. It doesn't mean the church is teaching error. They're just not, no one's talking about it right now, except for yours truly, the loudmouth, and a few other people out there. Okay, continuing in 1692. Ecclesiastical decision does not produce civil effects, or it is foreseen that a civil judgment not contrary to divine law. That's because the stuff going on in that civil judgment are per divine law, like who sees your kid, who gets to raise your kids, who gets to make the educational decisions for your kids, what religion do your kids get trained up in, when do you get to pray the rosary with your kids, educate them, when do you get to live with your spouse or not? Those are matters of divine law, kiddies, all right? This is why you have to have the bishop's permission if you're going to if you're just going to leave because your spouse is misbehaving, you got to go to the bishop. And if they threaten to leave, you tell them that they have to go to the bishop. And if they say, screw that, welcome to USA 21st century, because as I already said, history is full of different eras. When you're openly Catholic, you're going to get martyred. Today, if you want to do marriage, you're probably going to get divorced. It's likely one way or the other. So you preempt it, and you cannot be afraid of it. If you're going to go out and play football for the Seahawks, you can't be afraid of getting hit. You've got to preempt it and get prepped, all right? Instead of like, I just don't want any problems. You're in the wrong place. All right. So the bishop can, in light of their particular circumstances, give them permission to approach the civil courts. But he has to figure out if it's not contrary to divine law, which is why he has to have the trial first, all right? This is why, back to Canon Law 221, this is why if you're going to separate, you have to vindicate and defend your rights at the competent ecclesiastical forum, not the competent civil forum. No, 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 no. And why do I say that? Let's continue. Hang on. We've got a little bit more on Canon 1692. The judge is to endeavor without prejudice to provision 2 to have the case brought before the civil quorum. All right, whatever. Doesn't matter. Canon Law 1401. So people say, John, all this stuff about bishop's permission, that's a discipline. That discipline has changed. We know you used to have to do that, but not anymore. Well, let's look at the new code of canon law right now. 1983. Canon 1401, by proper and exclusive right, the church adjudicates cases with regard to spiritual matters or those connected to spiritual matters. That would be your living arrangement, because you have a vow, you have a right, you have a divine law contract to live with your spouse, educate your kids, be an icon of Christ in the church, all that fun stuff, spiritual matters. The church has exclusive right to those, okay? All right. And also those matters which there is a question of sin, which pertains to determination of culpability. Culpability? Are you saying marriage is a fault-based thing and not a no-fault? Is that what you're saying? Uh-huh. Yeah. But we have no fault today because there's no culpability because marriage is unity, and who are we to judge? No. 1152. Where is it? The innocent spouse. That's called culpability or lack thereof. So someone's culpable if there is every separation, you got one guilty spouse, one innocent spouse, somebody's culpable. You have to determine the culpability. Groovy? Yep. Groovy like Marcia Brady. All right. 1671. Marriage cases of the baptized belong to the ecclesiastical judge by proper right. So you got to read 1401 and 1671 together. Marriage cases of the baptized belong to ecclesiastical judge. All right? Exclusive and proper ecclesiastical judge. It's so clear, basic, obvious. It's still in the law. The law can't change because marriage belongs to God. Okay? It's not a secular. It's not a, you know who made it secular was Martin Luther. He fired his bishops. He's got no bishops. He's got no ecclesiastical judge. He was forced in 5 minutes to give it to the state because he fired all his bishops. He's like, I'm God. I need a state to handle my marriages. That's what he did. And now we're doing the same thing in the name of love, right? Because marriage is unity. We're trying to throw more love at the problem. What you're doing is you're feeding the feminist monster. Feed me Seymour, Little Shop of Horrors. That's all you're doing. So when she's still a little flower, careful what you give her, she'll turn into a monster and trash your place. It's kind of it's just a fallen female nature thing. Husbands can be bad too, but this the way women act and the way men act are different, and statistically you can see it in the divorce statistics, right? Right. This is also this is kind of the cure to this red pill thing, like don't get married and marriage is bad and what are you going to tell Pearl Davis and all that stuff. You just have to be Catholic and meet the challenge head on, all right, rather than running from it because it makes it worse. This is why there is, you got to protect the faith in Europe, otherwise the place turns pagan and then they come get you. So you're not interested in war. War is interested in you. You're not interested in divorce. Divorce is interested in you if you're married. And if you're Catholic, it's totally interested in you. So you don't set yourself up by getting rid of your suit of armor. Go collect it and get ready, bro. Canon 1696. Separation of spouses also concern the public good. It's not a private good. It's not a matter of the heart, closer to the heart. Hello. The promoter of justice must always intervene in every separation of spouses. That's why you can't just leave. You got to do it by the book. You have to do it due process and get your promoter of justice. He does exist over there in Cleveland at the tribunal. You got to find the guy and say, we need a promoter of justice. Oh, because he's so busy doing annulments without it being a promoter of justice. No, we need some separation decrees, all right? We need some separation trials like they always used to have. This is what you have. This is your gun. This is your recourse to the crazy. All right. So just like if your neighbor is acting up, you don't want to call the cops. You don't want to go to small claims court. But if you have to, you have to. You can't just roll over and bury your head in the sand and go, oh, I just don't like this confrontation. You have got to confront it, or he wins, and it could be very unjust and bad for the neighborhood. You know, what if you got some meth lab going on next door and they got guns? What are you going to do? I don't want to do trouble. I'm not going to do anything. Then the kids are getting mad. It's like, come on, you have to man up. And this is how you do it. And you also can't fear the consequences if things go sideways bad, because it's going to get worse if you don't. You can't bide your time saying, you know, I'm going to keep feeding the little shop of horrors here and then see what happens. I'm going to find that movie really quick while I'm thinking of it.
Oh boy, here we go again. Come on, I haven't got much left. Just give me a few days to heal, okay? Then we'll start again on the left hand and...
me.
I beg your pardon?
Feed me.
Tui, you talked. You opened your trap, you thing, and you said...
Feed me, Carbon. Feed me now.
I can't.
I'm starving.
Look, maybe I can squeeze a little more out of this one.
More.
There isn't any more. What do you want me to do, slit my wrists?
Ha. You guys know what I'm talking
I got an
about.
idea.
That's really funny. Totally, man. This is what goes on with marriage too. If you feed the beast, if you're not doing what you should, and you know what happens in the end? I think he eats his girlfriend or something. It's like crazy. So it's a good metaphor. I like that movie a lot. It's a little bit 80s lame in some ways, but whatever. Anyway, let's go back to the notes. You don't... Okay, here. Where is it? Share this tab instead. Check, Roger, check. Now then. All right, Third Council of Baltimore. You guys have probably heard this before, too. This is still in force today in your state, in your diocese, right now, today, 100% guaranteed, USA, in force, never been abrogated, because you cannot abrogate this divine law in principle. You could change it, but you can't abrogate it, and nothing's changed it. It's ignored. It is ignored. That's all it is. Take it to the bank, guarantee. If you want me to back you up on that, I will. Ask me any questions you want. This is from, 1896 or whatever. Third Council of Baltimore, we command all baptized married persons that they must not go to the civil courts to obtain a separation from bed and board without previously receiving permission from the ecclesiastical authority. Should anyone attempt this, know that he incurs the guilt of grave sin and that he is to be punished as the bishop shall decide. How politically not PC is that? Incurs the guilt of grave sin. That's in the Bible. If you hate your spouse, you put them away, but iniquity shall cover your garment. All right. In other words, it's objective. I don't care what you think. I don't care what's in your heart. You incur the guilt of grave sin. It's public. Manifest. You are not eligible for the sacraments. No Christian burial. No communion. If you do this, that's why there was no divorce for a long time, because people knew it was sin. Not anymore. Like Chris Stefanik says, we need to remove the stigma of divorce. Wouldn't that be a great idea? Man. Okay. Yeah, and the bishop, that punishment option is still not abrogated. No, I'll back it up anyway. I know this stuff cold. Anyone want to argue with me about it? No problem. Any canon lawyer out there, if there is the canonists will not talk to me, because they can't hide. They know the language. They're not crazy. They know they're ignoring law. They know it, but they won't admit it, so they can't talk to me. Will not do it. I'd like to get any canon lawyer to talk to me. Any. Nope, and no way. So speaking of, are we down? Speaking of, this is the new commentary in the Code of Canon Law. This is what they all follow, okay? If you want to know what the canon law is, go ahead and look at this book, and it'll tell you the commentary. Page 1357. It is impossible to make a complete listing of rights and obligations that the spouses have towards one another and the marriage. This is because what has happened is we have taken Canon 1151 right here. Spouses have the obligation and the right to maintain the common conjugal life. Okay? That is objective. It's spelled out. It's always existed. But we have now added the property of unity, the purpose of unity. That's what we've added to the legal definition of marriage. So you have the right to live together, but you also have the right that it's unitive. So if it's not unitive, you don't have to live with your spouse, and you also cannot prove innocence or guilt because unity is something that just happens. Sort of like if you're not soulmate with your spouse, then it's no one's to blame. It's just things don't work out. You break up with your high school girlfriend or something. It's not anyone's fault. It's just, people move on, people change. It's not whatever. That's all they're doing. They're saying, hey, the vibe wasn't there. Okay. So therefore, it is impossible to make a list of rights. You think you have rights in the church? You think you want to take your rights to vindicate? What rights? We don't know what they all are. And if you say I have a right to X, they'll say, well, there's also a right to Y, which is undefined, aka unity. So there's nothing to judge. It's all no fault today. No fault is the new Catholic separation process. It's from the devil. Catholics must reclaim the patriarchy, reclaim the law. You got to learn it yourself and do it and assert it, because all these enemies of marriage in the tribunal don't want to go there because they're all guilty. It's just like showing aborted babies to the abortionist. He's like, get out of here. Can't handle it. That's okay. So it's impossible to make a listing of rights and obligations that the spouses have toward one another in the marriage. Notice it used to be it's not impossible to make a listing of rights that spouses have to the marriage, because we know what rights they have to the marriage, but they also now have spouses that rights toward one another, because marriage now has two purposes, twofold end, inseparable significances, unitive and procreative. We can't define it. They have no rights. So when your spouse starts acting up or getting like the people in the back of this picture, cool, right? When that starts, this is in the way of my green screen. I got to fix that. Just a minute. Hang on. Okay, I think I forgot what I was saying, but anyway, point being that today we have a two-headed definition of marriage, and it only has one head, all right? This is why when you go to maintain your frame as a husband and all this, the powers that be don't recognize it. They're effectively saying she has as much of a head as you do, and you owe each other mutually love and all that kind of thing. So, and you can't define it, so there's no law. This is why you want to marry somebody that it has the fear of God, that will understand that they go to hell if they abandon the contract. Okay, and you have to list what the contract is. Like my pickup line, I tell people is, "Hey, do you want to sign my marriage contract?" That gets things to the front lines really quick as far as conversation goes. Anyway, you want to not let Seymour get so big that Seymour will go ahead and grab the reins of power that have been abandoned by the bishop and the state is willing to hand them to her. Typically, it's her that's going to do that. So we need to handle things before Seymour the plant goes from this big to as big as the corner of the room. Cool? All right, let's finish with Miss Nicey Nice here, and she's going to talk about the rest of what she's got going on, and I'll make some more comments. And we got a nice song at the end, too, so you want to hang out for that.
But the moment that you stop accepting the garbage treatment, the moment you look her in the eyes and actually say, I'm done with this, and you watch how fast the game changes.
I hope she's right about that, and I think she probably is, because when you don't, it's better to have a blowout than a slow leak. I can't remember who said that. It's some evangelical guy, and I believe it. In other words, human psychology. It's the frog in boiling water kind of thing. So you got to be ready to pull rank and pull it hard when the time comes. So you say, I'm going to separate if you don't do this, and I'm going to get an ecclesiastical separation. I'm going to do it through the church, and if you don't follow along, You're the one who's the public sinner. That's what I'm going to do. And she can, whatever she does after that, let her do it. And you, like I said, you can't live. It's almost like, oh, I don't know. You can be a patriotic Catholic Church attendee, which is the communist Catholic Church, but you're not a real Catholic. So you got to bail on that and go to the underground church. You just have to do it. If you're going to go to heaven, if you follow your conscience, you got to know what you're doing. And similarly with this, you cannot live like a kept man in the spirit of Vatican II with the law of unity as far as our frame. Your frame is essentially follow her heart. That's your frame. And that she'll eat your lunch. That's what this girl is saying. And she's right. I think a lot of secular sources say that about women. If the guy doesn't stand up, she's gonna take those pants and put them on and start whipping you. That's what'll happen. So it's like I said. All right. Anyway, like I said, the point of this video is we have to, as Catholics, we can't go secular. We can't divorce. We can't threaten divorce. All that. No, but you can definitely threaten and make good on ecclesiastical recourse. That is the point of the video. This is the Catholic response. This is the Catholic gun that you have. This is what marriage always was until no fault. But if you're not Catholic, if you're not religious, you can just, quote, leave. And that's a drag, but you can do that. And then people are like, whoa, come back. So that's the leverage everyone wants to use. I'm just going to leave. Well, you do need to put up with a lot, but if you do need to leave, the point is that you have a Catholic way to do that.
Suddenly she's blowing up your phone. Suddenly she's sorry. Suddenly she's scared that you're walking away. Because the second you prove that you will choose yourself over her chaos, the entire script is flipped.
Excellent, fine, good, love it. Hope that's true. I assume it probably is. And the way, like I said, you've got to know your rights and you have to know how to call up the tribunal and assert them. Anyone have a trouble? Anyone want to know more? I'm the easiest guy in the world to reach. My info is all over the place. You can find me super easy, and I'll talk to people. Call me on the phone a lot, whatever. I'll help you with some of this stuff. It's pretty simple. All right. I'm not real complex. I don't know a lot of legalese, but I do know a lot about wordsmithing and politics with this stuff. Okay. We're talking with real human beings here at the tribunal, so we got to try to talk to them. All right. Continuing.
Stop blaming her. She's only treating you like trash because you keep rolling out the damn red carpet for it. So
that's a great point. You know what I mean? It's like the dog, you got a puppy and that dog, it's 2 a.m. and next thing you know, you hear the garbage can downstairs go whack. And then, there's digging, and you find stuff all over the place. Don't blame the dog. It's just kind of what's going on. You can try to train that dog, whatever, but that's just natural. So this is going to happen naturally after the fall. You don't man up. She is going to man up. And she's going to be Jezebel on you when she mans up. And then when you start to try to assert yourself, you look at Seymour there with the big plant. Seymour is kind of a simp. Okay, this is what happens. That is such a great movie for this case. All right, I should show more of it. Anyway,
stop begging for respect. Command it by the man who refuses to be disrespected.
Great points. Love it. As I keep saying, JP2 generation can't do this, man. No, you can't, because it's all about the unity and mutual submission. We got to love the wives so much it's all about, basically, there can't be disagreement. We all have to just agree on everything. All right. And this is why you can't, you effectively give in to her disrespect machine, and it turns into that monster. When you do the 90s boomer, modernist, NFP law, Catholic goo, right? Right. So people are starting to figure out it's not the way. And all you got to do is, don't believe me, just turn back the clock to before this modernism started and do that. It's Catholic. Do what St. Robert Bellarmine said. Take over.
So whose fault is it really? Look in the mirror, fix that man, and watch how fast she either steps up or gets left behind. You're a leader. Act like one.
All right, good enough. Good enough. All right. Hey, oh, shut up. All right. Hey, so as I said, if you're this guy in the background and you're having a hard time and you're feeling like, again, you got simp problems like Seymour in the plant, you've got to ramp up. You've got to know what you're talking about, and you got to realize that if you don't go into this Seahawks football game with the eye of the tiger, you're going to get hosed because it's late and they want to win. This Jezebel spirit wants to win. That divorce is interested in you, and if you're going to combat it, you have to have no fear of the circumstances, and you have to realize what era you live in, man. This isn't no happy stuff. So all these, like I said, these red pillars are all like, or black pillars, whatever. Don't get married. Don't get married. This is that you hear it all the time. No, get married, but just know what you're getting into and understand the martyrdom that could be involved. And this is how you can become a saint rather than just punched in the face loser. In other words, you're doing this for heaven. All right. And when you do it for that, there's a much higher likelihood of quote success. And also, obviously, you can be a saint no matter what happens. So there's success right there. Anyway, remember, if you're not against NFP, you're not on the team. So go out there and stay toxic.
Tak si šlapu po štěstí. Pozor,